June 4th, 12:32 a.m. Anyway, so yeah, the Banu and Nadar ended up getting kicked off of the land for breaking one of the rules of the covenant, one of the rules of the Constitution of Medina that was set up in 622 A.D. And it was only because, I guess, I can't really say they didn't want to go along because based on what I read, it was just they doing confederation that Muhammad wanted to fight against because two people had ended up getting killed. They doing confederation was called the Banu Amar ibn Salsa Confederation, which was a collection of tribes and clans. So they had like a sub-tribe or a sub-clan called the Banu Kalab Rabaya clan or tribe. Two people a part of that group had ended up getting killed. So because Muhammad had this covenant with different clans and tribes of Medina already, you had the Banu and Nadir tribe, which was a Jewish tribe. The head of that particular group was a guy named Huyay ibn Akhtab. So he had sought their help for revenge. Now, like I say, it's a scarcity of information that doesn't necessarily connect the dots, but I guess they ended up capturing somebody. Somebody that was a part of that group or that tribe or that confederation. That confederation that they doing confederation. But obviously stuff happened before that Muhammad didn't like. So Muhammad was like, nah, we good. We just going to take y'all off the land because y'all committed a violation. Keep trying. Y'all committed a violation. And so they ended up fighting with these people for about 15 days, and that's when they finally drove them off of the land. Now, because you had two other tribes in Medina that were also Jewish tribes, one called the Quaynukwa tribe and then another one called the Qurayza tribe, I feel like that created, if resentment did not exist already, I feel like it kind of engendered more of it because these people were there on that land for at least 400 years. Muhammad himself come from Mecca. So, in a sense, he's a foreigner. You know what I'm saying? Now, the head of the Banu and Nadir tribe, who ended up going north to Khaibar, he had married somebody, all right, from the Qurayza tribe and had 3 kids with them. So that's a sign of their closeness within itself. So later on, after that happened, before I go into that, this guy named Abu Jahl, who was Muhammad's enemy, one of his biggest enemies, before he left the tribe of Quraysh and Mecca. While Muhammad was in Medina, he had ended up making his way there one day. And he had a conversation with Huyay ibn Akhtab. Huyay ibn Akhtab felt some type of way about it, so he really didn't let him into his house or whatnot. Now, even though that guy didn't like Muhammad, they had a little covenant going on. So he didn't want to create too much suspicion, and he didn't want to be associated. You know what I'm saying? So he really didn't go along with whatever suggestion that Muhammad's enemy, Abu Jahl, was throwing his way. Not to mention they had differences of religion anyway, because, they today, people that read this information, they use the term pagan. But basically, Abu Jahl was of the Jahiliyyah religion. Huyay was Jewish. He was a rabbi, by the way. So he didn't go along with that. So, when they committed that violation and then they got kicked off the land, this happened in 626. So I think it was in February when this had occurred or whatnot. So they went north and then they settled in Khaibar. Now, Khaibar is 93 miles northwest, actually, from Medina. So obviously, when I read the literature, it don't say this, but more than likely, this what happened. What was going on in Huyay's head is he more than likely thought about the conversation between, or the suggestion, really, that Abu Jahl was throwing his way when he finally met him face to face. And because he feels some type of way that his people have been driven off of the land, I think more than likely, he gave it a second thought and he decided to join forces with the people of Quraysh to fight against Muhammad, a guy who he never liked in the first place and shared a different religion, shared the differences of opinion as far as their belief in God and their religion overall. Now, the other tribe that was in Medina at the time, who also had a covenant with Muhammad, somehow they ended up betraying him, and they also joined forces with the people of Quraysh. Now, I'm talking about the Qurayza tribe, and so their whole little force was called they were called the Confederates, and also Quenuqua later on ended up joining this confederation, which hints to me that they felt some type of way as well. So they ended up fighting, they ended up attacking Medina. Before they attacked it, I guess Muhammad caught wind of it, so they had built trenches because they were outnumbered. So they built trenches around the little buildings and the forts that they had in Medina to protect that oasis. And let me see, Muhammad had like a total, by this point, he had a total of about 3,000 men. But because you had all of these allies that linked themselves with the people of Quraysh, they were outnumbered. So you had like basically 3,000 versus 7,000 men. As far as like heavy cavalry, it was like 600 camels and horses. And more than likely, the people on the side of the Confederates possess a larger number of those animals that they used to fight with. Excuse me. So this battle occurred in 627, February of 627, and it was called the Battle of Al-Qadak. My bad, the Battle of Al-Kandak. And let me see what happened. It was supposedly some type of stalemate. That the digging of the trenches helped, and they were attacked from both sides. Now, the tribe of Qurayza had attacked from the south, and I still maintain that some type of rabbi within that tribe itself came up with that idea, but was inspired from their own religious lessons. I believe they took that military tactic from the book of Joshua when they talked about how that tactic was employed as well upon, I want to say, the second town that was attacked by Joshua's brigade. Because during that time, when they attacked that town, I'm talking about the book of Joshua right now, when they attacked that town, they attacked it from the north and the west. All right, they had sent the brigade to the west, and this is the second time this town was attacked. I could go into what happened the first time, it's not relevant, but this is the second time. So they attacked from the north. The soldiers within this particular town headed north, but they left the town unprotected. So a second brigade had split from Joshua's army, and then they went west, and they basically slaughtered everybody and then came behind the soldiers from this town and finished them off. So the population, it was like 12 to 15,000, but I want to say at least 12,000 people. All of their ass ended up getting slaughtered. So when I read about this battle in the trenches, to me it's a similarity. So my personal opinion is that that tactic was inspired from that book of Joshua by one of the rabbis. And if it was completely I don't want to say utilized, but like if it was a general that came up with that tactic within that tribe of Qurayza, then that general obviously was inspired by the book of Joshua. I honestly believe that, because Jews supposedly studied the Old Testament. That's my understanding. You know what I'm saying? So more than likely they will be familiar with that fucking book, because it's like going down the lineage after Moses. Starting from Abraham, Moses, and his fucking speaker Aaron, and et cetera. So that's what I believe. Now, going back to this, it was supposedly a stalemate. I wouldn't necessarily call it a stalemate. I would say that they failed. They fucking lost. They were outnumbered, but they lost, because the whole intention was to conquer Medina, and they were unsuccessful. And not only were they unsuccessful in conquering Medina, they lost the fucking route that they would go to head north. northwest. You know what I'm talking about as far as the merchants. So from my point of view, the Confederation or the people, the Confederation lost. Shit. The Medinians were successful. They were victorious because when they conquered that area from the south that the Q race people attacked from or charged from, they kind of cut off the economy to a degree of Meccans. And not only that, they ended up slaughtering the fucking men and all of the people that were the youngest that were mature, the matured boys that had went through puberty. They slaughtered all of them under the orders of Muhammad and Musa. You know what I'm saying? Musab ibn Mu'af. So, following this failed, unsuccessful invasion, you still have persons a part of the Banu and Nadir tribe that were in Khaibar. Now, before they ended up going there, basically a year later, the head had got, the head of the Banu and Nadir tribe, he was fucking executed. Him and his son. I'm talking about Huyay ibn Akhtab. He had got executed. So anyway, a year later, you still have persons a part of this tribe there. All right? Oh, yeah, as far as the Qurayza tribe, Musa was put as the head of them. Let me add that. So like a year later, in 628, this is between February and January based on their dates, Khaibar was invaded. Now, Khaibar is 93 miles north of Medina. You got Taim, you got Fadaka, then you got Khaibar. But it's northwest of Medina, and it is just another oasis. So they ended up getting attacked and whatnot, and let me see. It took not 15 days, it took about 30 days, and that's when the people had finally surrendered. Now, they did throw a little stipulation up in there. They was like, okay, we will surrender as long as you spare the lives of the people here, basically. And then there was another suggestion thrown out there, which is like, okay, you can have the lands, spare our lives, but we have experience in cultivation. So if you let us stay here, we'll continue to cultivate the land. I want to say continue because, you know, if they got experience of doing it, then the land was cultivated. So Mom went ahead and granted them that suggestion and yielded to that. And he also did it because they didn't have enough slaves to cultivate the land themselves because they already were in control of Medina. So whatever resources that they had were utilized in Medina itself. So that was kind of like a good suggestion. So he went ahead and took that suggestion. Now, Huyay had like a bag of gold supposedly that Muhammad and them knew about. So they were trying to find out where this bag of gold was at. So they interrogated a guy named Sophia, what's his name? Sophia ibn al-Rab. Shit, no. Sophia ibn, I can't believe I just forgot his fucking name. Oh, shit. Sophia ibn al-Rabi. That's what I'm saying. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's somebody else's name. That's the name of the lady that I have, that of Huyay's daughter that was married to somebody. Damn. Sophia ibn Abu. I'm going to say Abu for now. Anyway, Sophia. That's all what it counts for now. That was his first name. So that's the guy that they had interrogated or whatnot. You know, first he lied about it, claimed that there was no more jewelry, no more gold and silver. So Muhammad had turned him over to Al-Zubair, and Al-Zubair tortured him, and then he finally gave in and told these people where this gold and silver was at, and they found the bag. After this, they ended up executing two people. It was a guy named Abu ibn Hukayk. He had two sons. Now, by the way, the guy that I just named, he was supposedly some type of poet that came from Medina, but he was also a part of the Banu and Nadir tribe, so obviously he was a part of the aristocracy also, and then they owned some type of fucking fortress that was somewhat close or near to Khaibar. Fortress is called Al-Kamu or something like that. But anyway, this guy had died way before this battle in Khaibar, by the way. Anyway, both of his sons had ended up getting executed. Now, Huey's daughter was there, and she witnessed this. But because her husband had fought during this whole siege, or during this whole month when they was attempting to conquer Khaibar, her husband, his name is Kanana ibn al-Rabbi. That's his name. He ended up getting executed also. And so, they took the land or whatever, they annexed it, and Muhammad was like, okay, whatever that you guys in the future produce as far as produce, fruits and grain, thus wheat, you keep half, but you have to make a sadaqah, which is a payment. And you have to give us the other half. So it's kind of like taxation, you know what I'm saying? And it also kind of pays for those people being under Islamic protection as a fucking province of Islam now, aside from that in Medina. And, based on what I read, they remained there. They got kicked out way after Muhammad died. So this had to be between 634 and 644. They didn't give a specific date yet, but it was during the Caliphate of Umar, the second fucking caliph or caliph of the Rashidun period. So, I don't know. That's what happened. That's basically all I read now. I could give a little commentary aside from me just stating fucking facts. And commentary will be what I think about these facts, because I don't have no robot brain. I ain't fucking retarded. So, shit. Let me see. Interesting. Okay. Let's talk about Huey's fucking daughter, Sophia bint Huey. Now, it's interesting to me. Not only, later on she had ended up becoming the wife of Muhammad, right? She married him in 629, and they were married for 3 years basically until Muhammad died. So she became one of his wives, thus the mother of the believers. But she did maintain her faith until she finally converted to Islam. And when she first married Muhammad, some of the people around, his companions, they was kind of confused, like, they didn't know if she was basically a slave or a helper or his actual wife until she put on the veil and this and that. But she still dealt with a little harassment and condescension. And Muhammad told her, look, the next time somebody make a comment towards you, just say, I'm the such and such of fucking, I'm the, I don't know, I forget. He told her to mention Moses, Aaron, and all these other people. Why? Because these characters were not disregarded in Muhammad's philosophy. So in other words, she's telling them, like, listen, you saying what you're saying about me, but we still basically believe the same thing. We don't disagree here and there. So there's no reason to treat me or look down upon me. And like I say, it reminds me of something that Jeremiah Wright had said years ago at his press conference during Barack Obama's first campaign, when somebody posed a question to him in regards to other people that think differently. He referenced the Bible and quoted a scripture, something about others of this fold have I, or something like that. But basically, he made the same point that Muhammad made when he asked her to say these things in response to people that throw little silly comments her way. But, yeah, going back to her, this is fucking interesting to me. Like, okay, now she is described as being beautiful or whatnot. And let me say this. Hey, y'all, for the people that's fucking throwing it, listen, if you think that I'm going to take my time or I'm going to sound lame if it came down to it and I had to shut your shit down, you're fooling yourself. You better listen to that conversation that I had with that guy across the street. Anyway, going back to what the fuck I was saying. Okay, first off, the quote comes from her as far as when her father met Muhammad and didn't like him. So she witnessed that as a child because according to the quote, when her father came back from meeting Muhammad for the first time, he was supposedly exhausted and worn out. And like I say, they must have had like a fucking meticulous conversation. And Muhammad must have been defending his views very well, and that guy probably was reaching in his bag, pulling out his shit, kind of like the documentary Beef Part 1. When dude, I forget his name, he was talking about DMX, and he said how he met him in prison. This is called charisma, by the way. It's natural. He was talking about how he met him in and being captivated without trying. But he was talking about how he met him in prison, and he was like, yeah, I battled him, and I ain't gonna lie, he had me reaching for my shit. I was reaching for my shit. You know what I'm saying? So visually speaking, think about that. It's the same thing with Muhammad and her father. You know, if he came back worn out and exhausted, more than likely those people in Arabia were used to traveling long distances, especially if the merchants would go as far as Yemen or go all the way north to fucking Syria.